Let's talk recruiting. We got Brian Smith joining the show, the latest Badger recruits, what he thinks of that trajectory, and a big-time 2026 quarterback prospect. Where might Travis Burgess end up playing his college ball? All that and more. Today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Appreciate all the everydayers for making this your first listen. I'm your host, Ryan Herring, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode, we are talking the newest Badger commitments. So Carmelow Reed, Tayshon Bardo, some really nice commits there on the offensive and defensive side, and also getting into Travis Burgess. But first, let's bring Brian Smith on the show. We got the BS report for you, which is what I call this because I love it. It's a truth. What it is, it's a truth meter because if we just have Badger people on here, eventually you start to get into a silo and you get a little too confident. We need Brian to come in and say, hey, yes or no. You're on the right track, or maybe you're a little off. Let's talk recruiting to start, Brian. Badgers pick up a big-time commit. I think Carmelow Reed, 6'7", defensive lineman out of Illinois. What'd you like about his film, or what do you see on film with Reed?
For Wisconsin, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, this is the guy that doesn't fit their profile because he has the measurables to play at Georgia. He's got the height, he's got the length, he's got a good motor. He's a kid that's got a thick trunk. He's going to be able to come in and at least be competitive in practice from day one. I'm not saying he's going to start at Wisconsin on the D-line as a freshman, but he'll play. There's no way they're redshirting that kid. I just don't know exactly where he's going to play because, like you said, he's so freaking long. Like, if you wanted to, you could build him into an offensive tackle, but they need D-linemen so badly. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not sure if he's going to stay at 5-tech, be on the strong side, or move inside, do a little of both. But he's a mountain of a man, and he's got a great frame. I really like him, and I was surprised. Like, he didn't get more looks. I have to look into that more, like, what's the deal there? Because he's a pretty darn good player.
What's that level of competition like? Because watching the film, it feels like there's a few too many free rushes from a guy with that size and that type of skill set.
I would say some of those teams are terrible. I would guess that's pretty much where I'm at. And can you imagine being that poor quarterback at the random high school and being the mom in the stands like, what are you doing? My child's going to die. But, yeah, he's a big dude. And a few times he got turned free. And he was able to, like, hunker down, sink his hips, and change direction, which I did not expect. So that was probably the most important thing because athletes that are 6'4" and above don't normally turn and change direction like that. And when they do, they can play in the Big Ten. And there you go. That Carmelow is that guy. So he's got a chance to be an all-conference player before he leaves Madison. And it's been a while since I've said that about a pure defensive lineman there. Now, you and I were talking about Nick here just a little bit ago before we started the podcast. A freshman out of Florida is an edge rusher. That's a good point. But you need 2 or 3 of those a year. I think this kid's one of them.
Yeah, Nicholas Clayton, somebody you were high on last year. I think I mentioned to you already up to 220. Getting reps with the number 2s already in spring practice, which is only going to build as the summer and fall comes. You were right on with him. He looks – I got to see him today, just really explosive. Like all the things we talked about, you can see those athletic traits. Now he's got to get a little bigger still. Going back to Reed really quick, I think there's versatility here. It's one of the things I really like about his film. You mentioned it. I think he could end up in a few spots. I think he could set the edge. On pass situations, I think you could kick him inside and maybe get some interior pass rush there. He just feels like a guy that you get in the program, and where he ends up is where he ends up, but he has a chance to be impactful all across the line.
Athlete, brother. Figured out after they arrive on campus. Barry Alvarez was famous for that. They had all kinds of guys that did that. Why would this be any different? And he's still growing into his body. So maybe he outgrows the idea of defensive end by his junior year. I don't know. But if he's 295 and 6'7", and you put him at 3-tech, and he's able to still hunker down and get low enough to get some leverage, he's not going to win a lot of leverage battles, but as strong as Carmelow is, I don't think it matters. And that length, he's going to get deflections. The linebackers will love him. Quarterback's not going to be able to see over the middle, and they're going to be taking risks if he bats it up in the air. Those are picks, free safety, and the linebackers will love that. There's nothing really not to like about it. And again, he's from Illinois. I mean, it's right down the road. It's a lot less likely you're going to lose him. I mean, other teams, I do expect other teams, once his senior film starts circulating, I see that as a really, really good chance to be a player that moves up the rankings. He might get some more offers, but love the frame, man. Really do.
Let me ask you something. So you and I talk about this kind of stuff a lot, and especially with defensive linemen. It feels like this is the type of spot the Badgers need to get in on. It's the high 3-star type defensive lineman. They have the physical tools, but he needs some work. Like when you watch him play, he's a little high in his technique, right? If the guys that are really polished with these physical tools, they go to Georgia, they go to Bama, they go to those Notre Dames and Ohio States. This feels like the sweet spot for the Badgers. Get the athletes that just need to get coached up a little bit.
I think that's always the case. And especially that kid, and I know it's ironic because Bielema is now at Illinois. They're battling their old coach. They got to get some of the Chicago kids at a higher clip because, like, for whatever reason, and this stuff goes in cycles, Chicago is up. There's more D linemen there right now than there's been in the last 20 years. I have no idea why that is. You have to get some of those kids away from Illinois, Michigan State, Iowa. Notre Dame or Michigan will try to get some of those kids, but not a whole bunch. You can get 2 or 3-star D linemen out of Illinois a year. But do you win the battles? That is all relationship-based, and I don't think Illinois' NIL is elite. Ohio State, Notre Dame NIL is a different deal. But if those schools are not involved, Wisconsin can do pretty good. And they've got to be able to do better in Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska for those same kind of kids. So, yeah, I think they're headed in the right direction there, but just need more of them. That's the only difference.
Yeah, and something we've talked about a lot. We've talked about quarterbacks, receivers, and defensive linemen. You need multiple of them. And this is a start. They're in on King Liggins is another Illinois defensive lineman. They're in on battle. Good player there. Tough battle. But, yeah, I want to shift gears here. Carsen Eloms, the cornerback that just committed, 6 foot, 170, 180 pounds, coming out of Indiana. Pretty good length, pretty good quickness. What do you think about Carsen Eloms?
First thing is he plays on the north side of Indianapolis. That's my home area. I know it very, very well. He's playing against big box schools. Kids on these programs, the varsity will have 90, 100 kids minimum. Like it matters. It's what I call the Peyton Manning effect. After Manning was with the Colts, Indianapolis football went nuts. Everybody started playing football. They got a lot of population there. There's good players. He's going up against some pretty good players, and he's making plays, can change directions well, has athleticism. I think Wisconsin can play him pretty early. It's kind of a steal. Question is, can they keep him? I don't know if Indiana's after him. I know Notre Dame's now. I don't think Ohio State is. If Indiana has another good season this year, some of these kind of kids, they got, 3 kids out of Indiana right now, Ryan?
Yeah, 3 offensive linemen as well. Yep.
So that'll be something to monitor. But, yeah, that's a steal. He plays at Fisher's High School, I believe. Again, that high school is one of the better programs in the state, basketball, football, whatever. They got money out the yin-yang, and the kids flock to that school. So that's a good pipeline to start on the north side of Indianapolis. Bunch of ball players.
Well, and you mentioned, too, just some of the size, like, 6 foot, 6'1", long arms, can drive on the ball. He fits that kind of prototype that Luke Fickell has always looked for and Mike Trussell's always looked for at corner. Get somebody a little longer, taller, and then let's coach them up.
Absolutely. That seems to be the kind of growing theme. Pete Carroll started that. They run some different cover 3 and some different man schemes, but with guys that are 6'1.5", 6'2" minimum. Now, I know that's NFL, but he did similar stuff at USC too when he was back with the Trojans. It's about technique. Carroll's a DB coach, but if you have DBs that can break on the ball with length, you can also play them a little further off the line of scrimmage than just playing bump and playing high-risk defense because they have more length to get to the football. 1 inch doesn't sound like much. It matters. It absolutely matters. It changes who gets offers too. Measurables. If it's in question, that word's going to decide which young man gets the scholarship and which one's mad. It's just how it works. So film be damned. It's about measurables. So
right.
I liked his film, but like you said, he's 6 foot, but he's a little longer than 6 foot based on like watching him reach for a pass. I think he's a good player. I like to pick him.
No, great stuff as always. Really quick, I want to ask you on Nicholas Clayton. How big does he need to get to play as a true freshman in the Big Ten? He's about 220 now. And let's say we're certainly not talking about an every down guy. We're going to put you against Iowa and like hold the edge. But to be effective in the Big Ten.
150 snaps this year if he played 12 games. And I know they're kind of limited on this because they don't get that many athletes. Try to do your best not to play him on a ton of special teams. There are a lot more injuries there. But I want to see him 100 snaps conservatively actually playing on the defense, more in passing situations, last 2 minutes of the game, last 2 minutes of the half. He's not going to hold up against the run. He's just not. So I'm sure if he comes out on 1st and 10 against Minnesota, why would they do that? They're going to run the ball right at him. They can wave a flag. He's not going to be able to hold up against the Minnesota offensive tackle. But if he can get up to 230, 235 by fall camp, he's 220 now, 10 pounds. It's not that much with today's training. You can mitigate some of that. The question is, can he keep his fluidity, his change of direction? Because that kid can stop with 1 foot and move another direction, which is rare. And if he can do that at 230 or hopefully 235, then he might push 200 steps this next season. But again, your point is absolutely spot on, Ryan. Can he play the run? Yeah, right now I would say that's not very likely.
No, but let's get some pass rush. Do you know last year the Badgers were 134th in the country in tackles for loss? There are 134 teams in the country, Brian. So anybody that can bring some juice is going to help the Badgers there. We're going to take a quick second. We're going to come back and talk about one of Brian's favorite topics, quarterbacks, a big-time 2026 target that the Badgers and many others are after with Travis Burgess. Where might he go and what is his game like? That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at TurboTax. And a quick second, as always, to say thank you for tuning in to Locked On Badgers. Listen, it's about that time of the year. It's time we start talking about TurboTax, getting serious about this. Taxes used to be really stressful. They used to be trying to figure out all your numbers, hope you get the most money back, hope you don't mess it up. That's not taxes anymore. Now taxes with TurboTax is getting an expert who gives your taxes the undivided attention as they work on your return, treating it like their own. You get real-time updates on your phone because why shouldn't you? It's 2025. Let's get real updates as this is happening, as an expert is finding you every deduction possible, filing every form of every investment and everything with 100% accuracy. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed. It's simple. Why would you do anything else? There's no waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is taxes. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available TurboTax live full service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details over at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Okay, let's come back with Brian. I do want to start here, Brian. You have a new channel, and I don't know if we've talked about this since you came back on the show. Where can people find your channel and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, it's called the Portal Podcast. It's recruiting, NIL, and obviously the transfer portal, which is like my life right now. Every 5 seconds, somebody's texting me or I see another kid in the portal. I do previews. So it's a channel like this one, like Locked On Badgers, but it's just dedicated to roster management. That's the short way to put it. And again, I'm on all the same channels you find Ryan here on Locked On Badgers. It's the Portal Podcast, recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal. Some of the kids are going to end up at Wisconsin. Some of the kids are not, but you're going to get a profile there. So from the portal and then recruiting national rankings, I have John Garcia Jr. on from Rivals every week, have guys all over the place. And I'll probably have Ryan on at some point to yell at him about D-line recruiting at Wisconsin. That's what I do.
Let's do it. It'll be no different than our normal show then. I love it. Let's talk Travis Burgess. So Travis Burgess has been on my show. I know you've talked to him on at the Elite 11, 2026 quarterback out of Grayson down in Georgia, high 3-star kid, 6'5", 200 pounds. This is a Wisconsin, UNC, Auburn battle, and other schools have tried to get involved as well. Let's start with his game. What do you like about Travis's game?
When I saw him at Elite 11, that was the first time I saw him throw live where I really paid attention to him. I'd seen him at Under Armour, but quarterbacks at Under Armour, it's not the same. There's a million things going on. We don't really focus on quarterbacks much, but they put you in stressful situations at Elite 11, and it is a long day. It's like 5 hours. I mean, there's no other quarterback workout like it that I've ever seen. And going to your left, throwing to your right, throwing a pass along the back end line, they will like mark it within an inch. Like, did you throw it as high as you're supposed to? Everything is ranked. And he never stressed. Part of it's he plays at Grayson. For those of you who don't know, and many of you probably don't, because most Wisconsin fans are up north, Grayson's arguably the best program right now in the state of Georgia. It's certainly in the top 5. And he's the leader of that program. They just won state title. And he's around a bunch of dudes. They got so many D1 kids. It's ridiculous. It's greater Atlanta area, Gwinnett County, which is my favorite county in the country. He is a guy that's very much in command of what he does. He could roll the pocket and move. He could run some RPO. He's a pretty fluid athlete. And as long as he is, and he is 6'5", like he is a big freaking dude. As long as he is, I was surprised that he could move, stop and throw, or move and throw like sidearm, dip his arm. He has more skills than I thought. And that's why you go to these events. his stock rose up with me and some other kids. I'm going to go into it. Some are like, I don't see it with that kid. There's nothing like the eye test from 15 feet away. I'm literally standing right next to him while he's throwing. So it's pretty unique. But pocket quarterback first, but he can roll. I think he's kind of an old school West Coast quarterback. Some of those guys had the mobility. He'll get you 5-8 yards. That's what Burgess is.
Talking to him too, he sounds like a quarterback. He sounds like a leader. He sounds like a guy that's going to check a lot of intangible boxes. What was your impression talking to him?
Very articulate. You can tell he's been raised right. Good parents. Both the parents are in his life and are very involved. The high school he's at will keep him on track. Like, if you screw around there, you sure as heck aren't playing quarterback. Like football at Grayson High School, that's an event. Like that, they've got so many kids go on to play college and pro football there. It's not funny. If you're the quarterback as an underclassman there, you're a little bit different. They're not going to hand you those keys. So he has the maturity that I expected. Every question I had for him, whether it was football, whether it was recruiting, whether it was training, everything was very consistent, very articulate, well thought out. He doesn't just throw out answers. You can tell he's got a good head on his shoulder and the right people around him.
What's the upside for Burgess at the college level? Because I think people will hear pocket passer, and I think that almost has a weird negative connotation now for fans. They'll immediately say a little limited.
It's not. It just because, think about it. Outside of Georgia, what program runs a pocket passer offense? There isn't one. Of course, Kirby Smart, a Ferrari to him is a draw play. Like he just doesn't want to do it. And he has so many good other players, he can get away with it. Well, nobody else is Georgia. So they try to create big plays in the offensive game. So they get mobile quarterbacks. That's just not the way this kid is. He's more than a guy. I mean, he could play at Georgia in terms of like his style and all that. And I wouldn't be shocked if they started to look at him this spring. But he's a guy that if you want to go out and just run RPO, could he run Rich Rodgers' offense at West Virginia? Yes. They'd have to change it a little. He's not going to be running quarterback lead every fourth play. I mean, that's dumb. But he can swing it. So I say pocket because he's intelligent enough to make post-snap reads. Now, there's a world of difference, even though it's Grayson, between playing at the high school level and playing for Wisconsin or Georgia or Tennessee or Virginia Tech, North Carolina, whatever. That's still a whole nother level. But the way he carries himself, where he's played, and just how he takes it very serious of being a quarterback, I think he's a guy that has a lot more of a high ceiling than what I originally thought. Meeting him was important, but so was seeing how he threw and how he adjusted. If he made a bad throw, he learned from it, etc. All those things. I think he's got a really high ceiling.
Put this in a tier if you can for Badger fans, because Badger fans, I mean, sports fans in general love to live off comparisons. Does it feel like this type of guy? Is it this type of tier? Carter Smith last year, the Badgers, he flips from Michigan. Now, some of that was because of who Michigan got, obviously, at the quarterback spot. Is this that type of tier, a different tier than a Carter Smith for Badger fans?
There are different players. Carter's really athletic. Like, he could flat out run Rich Rod's offense. They're different players, but I think they're similar in how they throw the football and how they look. Like Carter, I know him. I've had him on a podcast before. He's the kind of guy that ends up running a company. Like intelligent, articulate, deductive logic, not just throwing out willy-nilly comments. He's very intuitive. Same thing with Burgess. They would get along great. So they play a little bit differently, but I think their style overall in terms of how they attack a defense and throwing the football has a lot in common. So different players, but if I had to pick, I'd say Carter's got slightly higher upside just because he's so freaky with the football on the outside, but he doesn't have the same frame that Travis 6'5". Carter 6'2.5", I'd say, if I was to guess. And he can just really run. Like he's a kid that you put at center field in baseball or something.
Where do you see Burgess recruitment going? I know Wisconsin's in there, Auburn's in there, UNC's in there. Some other schools have tried to kick the tires as well. Where do you see this recruitment headed?
More or less, it just depends on what happens this spring. He said, I'm not going to close the door. He knows he's at Grayson. Every school in the country that recruits Georgia goes to Grayson, period. If you're a Big Ten or SEC school, you go to Grayson. So somebody else might offer him. And I don't know what the deal is on it because I asked him, why Wisconsin? And he said they got in on me. They just really connected. They really showed they wanted me, et cetera, et cetera. There could be another school that does that. But Wisconsin, for the record, has done a really, really good job of recruiting him. He just doesn't know who, and he wants to let it kind of play out. So by the end of May, we'll have a much clearer picture. I'm guessing he'll add one visit, whatever school that is. And he honestly doesn't know where it's going to be.
Interesting stuff, man. Wisconsin fans are definitely in on this one. They're in on Brian Hopkins, too, is another quarterback Wisconsin's in on. Hopefully one of those two is where Badger fans have put a lot of their hopes for this 2026 cycle. We're going to take a quick break there, come back, talk a little bit about Wisconsin over-under with Brian Smith, the truth meter, and Tayshon Bardo, Wisconsin receiver commit that we haven't had a chance to talk about. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show. And as always, a quick second to say thank you for tuning in, making this your everyday listen for Badgers news. Let's start with Tayshon Bardo, receiver out of Indiana, another Indiana guy, 6 foot, 180-ish pounds. Quick thoughts on Tayshon Bardo, again, where he plays. I know an area you're familiar with.
Yeah, he plays at Penn High School. It's roughly 20 minutes from the University of Notre Dame. So it's obviously Northern Indiana. That program for decades has been one of the best programs in Indiana. A lot of money at the school. They've got really good coaching. And it's unusual that they throw the ball out. They usually a running team, have been forever. But you got a kid like that, you throw it around. He's a route runner. He can really change his direction really well. He's not a burner. He's more of a possession guy, but great hands and makes some really dumb catches. It's fun to watch his film. He takes it away from guys. His quarterback should take him out to dinner because some of those should have been picks. Way underthrown. He'll jump up over a guy and take the ball, that kind of stuff. He's just not a burner. So he's a guy that I wonder if they would use him in a bevy of ways, meaning slot and outside. He's not a boundary guy. He's not big enough to be a pure boundary receiver, but the other spots, yes. And I think he would be very good as a kick returner, punt returner, and as a guy on reverses and screens. The hands are elite, and he's a guy that just has a natural knack of making the first guy miss.
Yeah, you hit something that I wanted to touch on because I think it's a really good point. You see him, a lot of high school receivers, you see a go route and a post route. That's it. With Bardo, you're seeing a whip, a comeback, a post, a vertical, the 9 route. You're seeing reverses. He feels very polished for a high school receiver with the hands, the ability to make contested catches, and basically running the whole route tree. Feels like a very high floor guy that the Badgers are getting here.
I would agree. Again, coming from where he does, he's probably had access to Notre Dame coaches in some capacity because some of their kids are probably at that school and everything else. So that's a lock. He knows the community and he's probably found the right trainer and all that. And again, that high school has real coaching. A lot of high schools in Indiana, yeah, not so much. Indianapolis, Fort Wayne, 90% of the good coaching and players. It's just true. So a few other programs outside those areas that I put a lot of faith in. Penn is absolutely one of them.
Let me ask you this. Let's shift gears there. Badgers over and under set at 5.5. Okay. You have a 4-game stretch where you're going to go to Michigan. You're going to have Ohio State at home. You're going to have Iowa at home. You're going to have to go to Oregon. So that's your 4-game stretch. You also have a road game against Bama. You have games against Illinois and Indiana, which were both really solid teams last year. Over and under 5.5 for the Badgers.
5.5? I thought you were going to say 7.5. 7.5. I'm hard.
Not 7.5. So the Vegas line is 5.5 per fan.
Okay. I thought you said 7.5.
We're not going 7.5.
If it's 7.5, I don't gamble. I need to go get my wallet. It's under. Okay. 5.5 is about where it needs to be. I wouldn't touch it as a gambler because that's exactly where the line needs to be. It'll come down to a couple of injuries, which obviously you can't predict. But right now, if I had to guess, I'd go under. I'd say 5 and 7 is the most likely. And here's the irony. I know Wisconsin fans are rolling their eyes and throwing things and all that. Tougher schedule, better team. They're not beating Oregon, Michigan, and some of these. They're not. Bama, come on. I'm going to meet you up there. And you already told me you're going to be intoxicated. You're not going to be able to stand it otherwise.
No. If I'm going to Tuscaloosa, I'm drinking. You and I. Let me ask you this one. I'm curious on your take on this one. Michigan, they go to Michigan. Michigan does have to replace some big pieces on the defensive line, defensive secondary. Can they beat? Is that a crazy thing to think they could go into the Big House and beat Michigan with a true freshman quarterback as incredible as he could be? Right. It's going to be earlier in the year.
The question with Michigan is who in the heck is Bryce Underwood throwing the ball to? If it's Bryce, they might play both quarterbacks. The other kid, Mikey Keene, I covered him when he was at UCF. He can spin it.
Okay.
He fits their offense. Like he could run a little bit. He's similar to Burgess, maybe not quite that athletic, but he's really accurate. When he was at Fresno or whatever, he just didn't have a lot of guys and he got beat up. But he could spin it. The question will be, when do you bring on the guy that you spend over $10 million with? What game is that? Like, is that in September or October?
That is week 6.
Oh, it'll be Bryce.
Yeah, I want to say 6.
Beyond their second game, they play at Norman, Oklahoma. I mean, I don't know if I want my 5, because I guarantee you Venables is going to throw the kitchen sink at him. Whatever they run in game 1, you can throw away the tape. They won't run one of those defensive plays. They're going to make Bryce's head spin. But after that, any game I think that Michigan plays, Bryce will have a chance to be the quarterback. I don't think you can count out him losing any game or winning any game. Like, I've seen him live. That is not normal. He's 6'5", 220, has a howitzer. He is an NFL quarterback. It's just a matter of when, not if. Barring injury, there's no way. He's very focused, has the arm, and he could run like a gazelle. He could be a free safety at Michigan too. It's ridiculous. So if he's on, you're not beating him. But if you can change coverages post-snap, he could have 3 turnovers. Teams that are good at zone defense traditionally give freshman quarterbacks a lot of fits. If Wisconsin's dumb and runs a lot of cover 1 and cover 4, which is basically cover 1, I'll take Michigan 17 or more because he's just going to chuck it. They've got a few fast guys. They just don't have a lot of guys that I would consider elite receivers. Tyler Morris just transferred out. They still got Samaj Morgan, but they don't have a dude. If Michigan gets a receiver in the portal this spring, which, by the way, now they obviously have NIL, I expect them to, then I get more nervous. I even talked about that. I did a podcast on I picked Michigan to go 10-2 this year, and it's because I think they'll get a portal receiver. If they don't, that's an 8-4 football team because they're going to run the ball and their defense is still going to be good. By the end of the year, like the back 3-4 games, I wouldn't want any part of Michigan. Next year, they might be my pick to win it because Bryce will have a year under his belt. He's that good.
And you're not wrong in the NIL. Like basketball and football, they've been spending money, and they have money to spend, unfortunately, for Wisconsin fans. Let me ask you to finish on this. I want to ask you if you think I'm crazy here. Again, you know me. I run optimistic with the Badgers. It is what it is. I'm taking the over, and here's why. The Badgers last year had an equally tough schedule. You played Bama, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, USC, Iowa. They're actually remarkably 2 really back-to-back incredibly difficult schedules that the Badgers have had. They won 5 games last year with Braden Locke at quarterback. I feel like Billy Edwards, this is where I'm at with Billy Edwards. Billy Edwards gives you solid-ish quarterback play. Not great, not good, but they were terrible with Braden Locke. I feel like Edwards coming in, you get solid play, you're going to win 1 more game. That doesn't feel like a huge stretch to me, but I hear your point though. Like it's just a brutal schedule.
My biggest concern, and this is why I talk about recruiting, not just on Locked On Badgers, but on any podcast. Let's say Wisconsin, just for the sake of mathematical purpose, through the first 6 are 3-3. Just however they go, they're 3-3. But when you got to play teams like Michigan, Bama, etc., during the first part of your schedule, it's different because it's not just the loss in the win-loss column. It's how you get the crap beat out of you. What is Wisconsin's depth? And then in the back 6, I mean, even if you, I don't have their schedule in front of me, but teams like Northwestern or Maryland or Rutgers or whatever, who you should beat because your best players got the crap beat out of them already. If you're at a field goal game in early November and, at Rutgers or something, they can lose those games too. That's the problem. And I know when they originally scheduled Bama, it probably sounded great. Hindsight is 2020, Ryan Herrings. There's 0% chance if they knew that the Big Ten was going to be like this, 0% chance they would have scheduled Bama. No way. Nothing you can do about it now. By the way, the out-of-conference scheduling for Big Ten and SEC moving forward is going to be awful. I mean, we got about another 5 years or so to be okay, but after that, it's because the conferences are so big, you'll be playing 9-10 conference games. But yeah, I could see it. I think Billy Edwards is a little better than what you think he is. It's just, did he really get coached consistently? And that poor child was running for his life at Maryland. Like, that was a jailbreak too often. And I don't know what it is. Maryland's one of those programs that should be a lot better and should have been a lot better for years and years because there's so much talent in the DMV and it's 15 minutes from DC, but they lose most of their kids. If he'd had more help, he would have been on an NFL roster holding a clipboard for the next 5 years. I think he's got the talent to do it, but he's gotten the crap kicked out of him. Maybe Wisconsin's line will help him with that. There's no way Wisconsin's line's not better than Maryland's.
No, Maryland's line was horrendous. I mean, I had the Locked On Terps guy on, and he just started laughing when I asked him about the offensive line. It was a terrible. He just started cracking up. And Edwards has tools, 6'4". He can run some. He's got a pretty good arm. I like him. I also know there's a few decision-making things, which is probably related to the offensive line and the pressure and the fact that he's running for his life, but he does have to take care of the ball. Yeah, I hear you. It's a really good point. And to that point, the Badgers have that 4-game stretch they have, right? They're going to go to Michigan and then home Ohio State, home Iowa, then go to Oregon. That's that 4-game stretch with no bye. I mean,
you could lose that game on average between those four. They could go 0-4 and lose by 25.
Yeah, it's a tough stretch.
That might be as tough a 4-game stretch as there is in college football this season.
Yeah.
It's certainly in the conversation.
And even that Iowa game, Iowa beat Wisconsin 42-10 last year. So
you know what I mean? Like, they're just so well coached. I know you guys hate Iowa. You got to give them props. That is an incredibly well coached football team.
That was Brian Smith joining us. Always great to have Brian on. When you're done here, go check out Locked On NFL Draft with Damian Parson and Keith Sanchez. All your favorite collegiate players getting ready for the next level. Go check out their now be the smartest football fan in the room with the Locked On NFL Draft Show. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. A bunch of content coming up. Go check out Brian's show as well on Wisconsin, and we will definitely talk later.